The Serpent King. One thing was certain, that the white kitten had nothing to do with it. It was the black kitten's fault entirely. The Serpent King would not have found me if it had not been for the black kitten. I was lying on the edge of the river, my legs dangling over the bank, my feet cooling in the river water. My only companions were the kittens. We were alone together as we had been so many times before. I was unearthing within myself a pleasure that was all my own, a pleasure that would come of being wed to my own reflection in the water of the river. I, as you know, have steadfastly refused to marry any of the suitors my parents or brothers have dragged forth. I am sitting in a small ornate chair across from my lady while she tells this story. The black kitten is currently sitting on the edge of the single small window, blocking what little natural light enters the circular room. The white kitten is not easily visible, camouflaged by a pillow, its small body curled around upon itself. She gets up and walks over to each of the kittens in turn, petting them gently and murmuring words of comfort. To herself or them, I am not certain. The black kitten pushes his head up into her hand, maximizing the effort of her attention. The white kitten makes a small noise and snuggles further into the pillow. The lamps, hung at regular intervals, burn weakly and cast long shadows, which continue to take on a life of their own. As she walks around the room, the shadows move with her, and she interacts with them in a dance that is all her own. Indeed, my lady, the ceremony will take place tomorrow. Your father has commanded it. I am no longer his to command. His reign is finished. It will not last the day. That is treason, my lady. It is truth, no less. The kingdom lives faithfully by the scriptures. It will last a long while yet. She gives a wild, bitter laugh, the shadows arcing high, becoming a heckling crowd. Ah, yes, the bastardized version that is preached to us. I have read the stone, seen it with my own eyes. The stone is lost. Nobody has seen it for many generations. The stone is a short distance away down the forbidden path. The forbidden path? No, 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 my lady. She waves me off, returns to her seat. The shadows fall to the floor, huddling around her. The white kitten wakes up, stretches and yawns, jumps down off the bed and comes padding over, gracefully leaping onto her lap and curling itself into a ball, instantly asleep again. The black kitten turns, small black eyes glowing, and hisses. It will be soon now, she says. She lays her head back against the chair, closing her eyes and idly caressing the white kitten. We have jumped too far ahead. You understand nothing. My lady, I am here to understand. You are a spy, nothing more. I will tell you my tale. It will come to life for you. I wonder, will you survive the ordeal? She opens one eye and glares at me, then shuts it, her dainty mouth curving into a small smile. Where was I? The edge of the river, my lady. Yes, the white kitten was beside me, always the more dependent of the two. Gifts from my sisters, the balance of light and dark, an equalizing force. That bitter laugh again, then more than they know. The black kitten was off cavorting around, brewing up mischief. I had learned to let him be. He always returned on time and appeared to be immune to danger. That sounds like neglect, my lady. I am not their keeper. They are mine. We have been going to the riverbank since they were weeks old. I had my preparations to do for the ceremony. Is that what you were doing on the day in question? No, you are not listening. I was enjoying the moment, the feel of my body on the sand, the sun on my skin. I had removed my outer layers and was lying only in my shift, which was pulled up past my knees, my arms spread wide, my fingers tracing patterns in the sand. My lady, if you had been seen. Her head jerks up, her eyes stormy. The white kitten gives a small hiss in protest. The black kitten turns his back to look out the window again. The shadows start swirling around her chair. I lift my feet to avoid contact with them. If you insist on interrupting me, I will not continue. I beg your pardon, my lady. I will refrain until the end. She rests her head back, the shadows calming as she does. I heard the familiar sound of the black kitten racing through the underbrush along the path leading to the river. His small paws hit the gravel at the edge of the beach, causing them to rattle and collide. Then he was beside me on the warm sand. He curled up by my ear, as he always does, his purr thundering through his small body and reverberating through mine. It's the most comforting sensation. She lifts her legs, footstool. The shadows obey, pushing a small stool over from the bed until it is below her feet. Massage. One shadow detaches itself from the others and circles around her legs and feet, kneading them as she makes small sounds of pleasure. I turn my head away, embarrassed by the intimacy of the moment. You always were squeamish. Get ready for your skin to crawl. Her voice has softened. A sultry quality now tinges the edges of her words, causing prickles on the back of my neck and a bead of sweat to form, trickling down the inside of my shirt. I am the court scribe. I have heard all manner of misdemeanors in my time. Really? We shall see. I am confident, my lady. She makes a snort of derision, continues with her tale. The black kitten had not returned alone. I did not hear the approach of the other, only felt the pressure on my skin, then the weight of him on my body. I was consumed by him, his length enveloping me before I had time to react. He explored every inch of me, and I lay still. I knew better than to fight such a force. I kept my eyes closed, believing the sight of him would cause fear to roil in my stomach, induce me to lash out in a stupid act of self-preservation. He slithered off me, and I thought he was gone, until I felt his tongue flicking along each part of me, until I had been fully tasted and tested. I admit I moaned in pleasure at times. I'd never been touched in such a way. I swallowed, my throat dry, my pen hovering over the scroll, a dead instrument. I shook my head to clear my thoughts, but the image she painted was vivid. I admonished myself. I needed to regain control, remember my station in life. She picked up the white kitten and gently placed him on the floor, stood up, and walked behind my chair. Oh, you've made an error. Your scroll is quite a mess. Looks like you will need to start again. She bends down, her lips right against my ear. Unless you want to ravish me now. No, my lady, I am well. Let us continue, please. She stands up, laughing at me, and walks over to the bed while I fumble with my quills, dropping the scroll and knocking over the ink bottle. She lies down on the bed, stretching her body luxuriously. I stop and watch her, forgetting every rule that has been hammered into my feeble skull since I was a child. I believe I have unsettled you. She does not look at me, but lies on the bed and allows her hands to roam over her body. I am entranced, forgetting my scroll, the ink spreading a path across the floor, staining my shoe. I stand and take a step towards her. Both kittens race towards me, their little fangs bared, the shadows rising behind them, an immovable barrier. I belong to the Serpent King. Her hands circle her abdomen and pause there. I carry his child, and it is death for another to desire me. I have gone to him every night for the past 2 months, and he has done things to me that others could never imagine. She rolls over onto her front, rests her head on her hands, looks over at me and winks. Do you know he can alter shape and take on human form? When he does this, his eyes are emeralds. His body glitters in the sunlight and glows by moonlight. His snake skin pattern stretches into a faint tattoo that can be traced in a continuous pattern around his body. He has bred me in all his forms. I am his gift and his life. He will have me, and I will bear his hair. The kingdom is finished. It has denied him his rightful place. It has rewritten the scriptures and devoured itself on power and greed. A shadow rears up in front of me, extending a limb, and pushes me back in my seat, where I sprawl over the edge. Another shadow races around my legs, strapping them to the legs of the chair, and a third takes my arms behind me. I am unable to right myself, and so sit there, bolted and tilted, a puppet on a string. She sits up on the bed, her hands ripping her bodice apart, shredding the sleeves of her dress. She stands and starts to walk the room again, the kittens following. You will all feel his wrath now. My pious father with his petty quarrels and fat incompetence. My mother, the wench, who perhaps should have come clean about the true nature of my parentage. Let's not forget my brother, with incestuous designs on all his sisters. He has not been able to touch me, not in my supposed virgin state. The only reason I would wager he is so determined for me to marry. The weak husbands of my darling sisters turning a blind eye each time he pets them. My head is at an odd angle, a crick forming in my neck, but I must respond to her, attempt to divert the disaster she is courting. It is tradition, my lady, as written in the scriptures. Lies and treachery. You forget I have read the original. They preach us nothing but a glorified misinterpretation of the truth. She has continued to work at her dress, shredding it apart so that it falls around her in tatters. So now we come to it, my incarceration in this tower. Who found out about my nightly visits to the Serpent King? 3 days and nights I have been here. Who betrayed me? Who is responsible? I make a small noise in the back of my throat, and she waves her arms in a circle. The shadows release me, and I tumble onto the ground along with the chair. It is a betrayal. She is muttering to herself now, pacing back and forth in front of the window. My legs have gone numb from the pressure of the shadow, and I struggle to sit upright. Before I can make the effort to stand, she rushes over to me, kneels so her face is level with mine, and I am looking into her blazing green eyes. Which one, dear scribe? A betrayal or a conspiracy? Are they planning to allow me my marriage to my reflection tomorrow, or are they going to make me a sacrifice? Which do you think it was that led me up here? Will lead you all to your deaths. With that, I hear the first whistle and roar. The ground shakes and the entire castle shifts and moves. She stands up and crosses over to the window, throwing back her head and laughing with a manic glee. I scramble to my feet and stumble over to see. The tingling sensation along my legs causing me to walk with a lurching gait. I peer out the window and see a man, his skin glittering in the sun, his emerald eyes burning bright. The walls around the castle are covered in snakes, a swirling mass of them, smothering guards and pulling them over the edge where they fall to the ground. The guards remain lifeless, while the snakes return the climb and climb the wall again. Another whistle and roar, a larger impact. I hold the ledge to keep my balance. Time to run, little scribe. Her lips barely move, the words coming out of her mouth in a hiss. I start to back up and she pursues me, her face a mask of rage and hatred, her words chasing me. Which do you think it was, scribe? Betrayal or conspiracy? I turn and bolt for the door, taking one last look before I wrench it open and collapse into the hallway, her voice thundering this final question after me. I crawl down the hallway before staggering to my feet and running. I have trouble focusing on where I am going, my vision transfixed by the image of her standing in the middle of the room, her dress in disarray, the shadows spinning circles around her. The kittens flanking her on either side, their small bodies arched, the hair on their backs standing straight up, their small faces contorted into hisses. Her question echoes in the chaos of a building being torn asunder. Which do you think it was? Which do you think it was? Which do you think it was? Thank you.